Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Gig Money Podcast. We talk with musicians about the side hustles that they use to fund their musical ambitions. I am Cody.
And I'm Andrew.
And
I'm Anthony. Hello.
And yeah, today we have Anthony Corso on. He is the guitar player for Sweet Clarity. Excellent band. Definitely check it out. We'll post some links so that you guys can check out some music. But most recently, you went on tour as a fill-in guitarist. Tell us a little bit about that.
I did, yeah. So I filled in on guitar for a band called Limberlost. They're local to me in the Tacoma, Seattle area over here in Washington. And we went on tour as direct support for Yngwie Malmsteen over in Europe. We did a week in Ireland and England, and then another week in Italy. And then I just got back a couple days ago. Just finally beat that jet lag.
Living the dream,
man. That was an experience and a half. I mean, obviously Europe is freaking awesome, and I'd never been. So, I was experiencing all the food and the beer and the Irish Guinness just gets its own category because it was so much better.
Oh yeah. Here I am talking like I know. I don't know, but I can imagine.
Yeah. It's awesome.
As a lover of Guinness. Getting it from the source that much better.
Yes, they have a thing actually where when you fly into the Dublin airport, like that is known for being like the best of the best, like the top tier of the Guinness stuff, because that's like when everyone gets off, you get off a 10-hour flight or something. The first thing you want is a good old pint of Guinness, and they have like the best. So yeah, it was awesome.
Get off the plane and you're walking off the plane, they just hand you a beer. Women.
Oh yeah, well, if only that would be awesome. No, but the bar is like right there. Yeah.
So it reminds me of a joke. It's like I hear that the population of Ireland, the capital city in Ireland, is like growing exponentially. Some would say it's Dublin.
Oh no!
No. We didn't prime Anthony for the dad jokes, so yeah.
I wasn't ready.
Hitting it hard already. Less than 5 minutes in, we're hitting it hard. Good job, Andrew. That is why we pay him the big bucks.
That's why I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was your first time overseas, right? So how was that experience?
It was awesome, man. I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to go on and slander people that shouldn't be slandered, but like I kind of have to separate the band and the music side from the actual just Europe itself. Europe itself is freaking awesome. All the people there are super friendly. We had some time to go and see like the Roman Colosseum, on one of our days off, and we drove across the entirety of France, so we got to see all that, on the way through, and take a couple ferries from Ireland to England and from England to France and all that stuff. That was really, really interesting. But like, man, when it came to the shows, it was super weird because Malmsteen is extremely particular about everything. And like, it was really, really difficult for us as the opening band because like when Malmsteen gets to the venue for sound check, we have to get the hell out, like leave the venue, get out, can't be inside. Don't, like when you are inside, don't touch his gear. Don't, if you see Malmsteen walking around, don't talk to him, don't look at him, don't get in his way, like this crazy stuff. And so you basically like walk on eggshells everywhere you go. And there were a couple times when we knew we were staying in the same hotel as Malmsteen and his band. And we were just ready for like one day we're just standing at the elevator and the door's open and then he's just there. And it's like, well, what the hell do we do now? Just like, back away or something. It never happened. So I don't know what we would have done. But it's really weird. He has like 4-hour sound checks where none of us know what he does because we're out of the venue. And so like, there are times when he gets there late and his sound check runs long and all of a sudden there's doors and we haven't even gotten to load our stuff up on stage yet. And so there's literally 1,000 people like hauling ass into this venue and like they're on the guardrails and they're ready. And then there's us like setting up gear and doing sound check. And it's super awkward because they're all just standing there watching us, checking monitors. You're doing this for 5 minutes, waiting for the guy to get to you. You know how it goes, all that kind of stuff. And so, it's kind of stressful a little bit because, you get like 30 minutes to set up, sound check, monitor check, and then you got to go when your time comes, no matter what, because you only get like 40 minutes or whatever. So it definitely tested us as far as like how as a band can you just kind of go with the flow when the flow is trying to literally destroy you. That's kind of what it felt like.
That's an excellent way to put it.
Yeah, but it was great, man. Like I have just a ton of stories, really cool stuff. And I wouldn't trade any of it for anything really. Because, that if you can handle that, you can handle anything. And so, it just kind of boosts your confidence as far as like, just roll with it. Because what could possibly be worse than what I've been through, before. So.
Yeah, definitely the truth. And I can only imagine. I haven't been overseas for any shows, but I can definitely think about how awesome that is, especially if you have time to explore. And I've heard a lot of different stories from different bands about how cool that is and how much of a kind of eye-opening experience it is to be in a completely different country playing a show, and you just have that culture shock immediately with things that you weren't even expecting. So
for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing obviously is the language. When we went into France and Italy, they don't really speak the language. I mean, they do, but our drummer, his name was Mike. He had this really bad habit of just not even bothering to learn a single word of either language. And the rest of us, we learn, when you're in Italy for a week, you learn, tu parli inglese, do you speak English? And, you learn to say these small phrases. And so you kind of lead with things like that. Our drummer would just walk up and he'd just go, English. And they would just kind of like, yes, I speak English. What do you, and then they do it. It's like, I'm American. Speak English.
Right.
That was,
It's
that was
just
kind of funny.
Walk up
you
to
walk
a
up to
person
somebody
in
and be
a
like,
restaurant.
spaghetti, fettuccine, Alfredo.
Do you have
We were trying to
hamburger?
ingratiate ourselves with the people, not immediately destroy them with stereotypes.
Suddenly, if you start speaking louder, that makes it easier for them to understand a different language. Like, do you
Speak
have
louder, just do this.
hamburger?
Yes. You got to talk like this. Huh?
Honestly, like we learned if you do say some English words with an Italian accent, almost as if you were making fun of it, they understood it. Like I was trying to order a pizza because obviously you got to get the pizza in Italy. And I walked into this little mom and pop shop, and there's just one single lady working in there. And I asked, do you speak English? She says no. And so I was like, and I went, recommend, because I was, what do you recommend? And she goes, oh, and she pointed, and I said, see, and then she measured the thing out and gave it to me. But it's like, if you just like say words or even speak English with that, like that accent with, they kind of understand. They're almost the same, but not really. It was really interesting how that worked.
So
That
whenever
really cool.
you introduced yourself, you're like, it's me, Anthony.
Honestly, I almost did that.
Offensive.
I almost got that far.
It's me, Luigi.
Oh man, yeah, you get kicked out.
They'd
Or
probably
you
just
become
laugh,
part
to
of
be
the
honest.
family.
Yeah, they're pretty chill over there. They'd be like, "Oh, yes, Mario, yes, see," and they,
We get
it'd be all
it.
good.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of your side hustles. You went on tour over in Europe, and you had to pay those bills somehow. So what are you doing these days?
I mean, the most obvious thing is a day job. I have a day job because it is nice to, be able to afford the house that I'm in and the food and all that other stuff, kind of essential. So I guess it was like before I really knew that music was the thing I wanted to do. I'd been going to school. I got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and later got my master's in the same. So I'm a little set up to, kind of like have one of those actual office
Careers.
job career things, whatever that is these days. So I work as a mechanical engineer for the Navy. I do one of those things where if I tell you what I do specifically, I have to kill you,
I know how it
Neither
goes.
confirm nor deny.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have the
what I've
same
heard.
problem.
Nice.
Yes. Andrew's got one of those jobs as well. So cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Makes you sound cool.
It does. Yeah. It's like, what can you tell me? Nothing.
Yep.
Well, what do you do for your job?
Confidential.
Cool stuff.
Spy stuff. That's all.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
You see this
believe it
watch?
if I told you. And if I did, I'd kill you.
Yeah. Yeah. This watch is actually a bomb. Don't ask me how I replace my hand every time, but it is.
Just mechanical hand.
That's it.
It's my mechanical hand.
Easy money.
So is that what
Yeah.
you do? You're mechanical engineering Andrew's replacement hands?
Yeah. Why not, man? Just, let me know when you need the hookup. I got you.
Yeah. Sweet. If I could get some more dexterity for my playing, that would be nice.
Neither confirm nor deny that.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Right. Sorry. Yeah. Right.
But yeah, that's pretty cool, especially because you had to go to school and get those very, very difficult certifications and degrees for that. So I know a lot of the stereotype of a musician as somebody who drops out of high school is just kind of a deadbeat, and
Pizza
we're trying to
delivery
flip that.
driver.
Yeah, that reminds me of a joke. So, what do you do if a drummer knocks on your door? You pay him for the pizza and send him on his way.
Oh. Got it.
And then he plays the drums on the way out.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yes, but you are on the opposite end of that spectrum. You are accomplished. You have, a well-paying job and schooling and a full background in that, and music is your passion. And I feel like a lot of the times, that's more the case. Is somebody is like pursuing music and then doing something else that they are really interested in to kind of facilitate that. Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing here, is making that known to everybody. Everybody thinks that musicians get paid wild amounts of money, and that is not the case.
No way. Yeah, it's interesting. The grass is always greener. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's got their problems and the things that they're trying to fight. The guy who just delivers pizza probably struggles to make, a nice amount of money to live comfortably, but I'm on the other side of that where I, make enough to live comfortably. But because I have one of them corporate jobs, when I tell them like, hey, I'm about to take off for 2 months, see ya, they're like, no, can't do that, So my struggle is, can I get the time off? Or, how do I get the time off to do this thing? So, it's, you kind of got to choose one way or the other. You know what I mean? And I'm currently kind of, I don't want to say trying to transition out, but I'm trying to find a different gig in the same field that is remote or something like that. So you have the flexibility to go on the road. If you want to piss off for 2 months and just go be a nomad somewhere, you can, and surprisingly, everybody else wants to do the same thing. So, you apply for these remote gigs and there's 500, 600 other applicants, and they've all got doctorates and they've been, in the field for 20 years and this stuff. It's like, all right, well, that's not going to work, And even with some of the interviews that I have had, like I had one a couple days ago, and, you have to bring this stuff up early. And so, I'm interviewing with HR and I'm like, hey, so kind of a weird stipulation, but twice a year, I'm going to need a month off to go, to go travel and do personal things. Like, can I do that? And they're like, oh, no. And then I never hear back,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, but we all have our struggles and the things we're trying to get better at. And that's currently what I fight with mine. So
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, especially, I don't know, in a field like that. It's not something that I'm super familiar with, but a lot of jobs are going remote these days just because that's what people want. People want to work remotely. most people want to work from home, but remotely can mean you're working from anywhere. And if you can do it, and if you can fulfill the obligations of your job on the road, then why not? Because if you're working at a pizza place and you say, hey, I got to go on the road, you quit essentially, and then you get hired back on when you come back. But there's a lot of those kind of disposable jobs that a lot of musicians are working. But I'm curious about that's your main gig. I'm curious about your side hustles, your other things that you do to kind of make money so that you can do those tours and support the music habit and all that.
Right. Yeah. And my side hustle is kind of double for two things. Number one, it's, kind of supplementing my income to do these music things because they cost a lot. But the other one is like, maybe one of them takes off and I can just straight up quit that corporate job. And, so it's one of those things. But I have like 3 different ones that I do based on, kind of whatever comes my way. The first one is, you can see I run a recording studio here in town. I'm currently in my control room. And then the house that I bought, I converted the garage, which is just on the other side of this wall, into a big giant live room, tracking room. Because one of the big things that I found was like musicians, when you want to record musicians, you hit them up and you tell them, hey, come to my studio, I will record you. Is everybody tells them that. And, the guy who says, hey, come to my studio, it's got like one room and, it's small, it's a bedroom thing. And there's nothing wrong with the bedroom thing at all. But, if you want to entice a bunch of musicians that are just drawn to the shiny objects all over the place, you got to give them some shiny objects, man. And so it's like, I've got this room and all these mics and look at these pianos and, all that stuff. And so that was kind of the driving force behind like, yeah, just, got to expand and stuff. Because if I want to, get quality clients in here, I got to give them the quality stuff. And so yeah, that's one of the things I've been doing lately. Actually, one of the bands I did literally just dropped a single. But yeah, so that's been super fun. And, it's also kind of helped a lot for when my own bands are doing things, because now I have the ability to self-produce a lot of the stuff that we do, which cuts cuts cost quite a bit as far as, like I don't have to pay for studio time to track. I just do it here. I still, send my stuff out to be mixed and mastered. I don't like to do that myself. Get some outside perspective. You know how it goes, that kind of thing. Yeah. But just the tracking, if you need to spend a week on drums, instead of paying, $700 a day for a big, nice studio, just do it here. Take all the time you need. Don't feel that, time pressure and get it right, So that's doubles is a nice budget cut as far as, when we produce our own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. I think a lot of self-recording is happening more and more these days. And, I do it as well. So, and it helps having the education and knowledge there, especially when it comes to just having other people in your area or even in your reach that have been doing it for a long time. And, if you have questions, if you're trying to figure something out, it's super, super helpful to have that community. And I think that's growing a lot these days. So I think that's really, really cool. And it's hard to find a good spot to record live drums. So, to be able to offer a more cost-effective solution to bands, especially when there's so much stress that goes into like being in the studio and recording and knowing that you're, doing an hourly, you got to get this done or else it's going to be a huge bill. You want to knock it out, and that's pressure that doesn't always add to the recording process. Sometimes it detracts from it quite a lot. And just kind of depends on the musician. Some people thrive in that situation. A lot of people don't. So no, I think that's great. Do you have a name for your studios?
It's called Peppermill Studios. because when I, the house I grew up on, it was Peppermill Place. So just kind of caught the name and rolled with it. Actually, you did the logo for it. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago.
Yes, I do. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I'll do you have like a website and everything that people can check out? Because I'll put a link for that in the description.
Oh, sick. Yeah, it's peppermillstudios.net. Not .com was taken. .net, just pepper, the word pepper and the word mill, just all as one word, just exactly how it sounds.
Yes. So everybody hit Anthony up to get your reasonably priced drum recordings and tracking otherwise, all of it.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Cool. Do you do mixing and mastering of other musicians? Okay.
Yeah, so it's one of those like kind of full service deals. Like if you want to come in and track, get track, mix and master everything here, we can do that. Because everything's kind of remote and like you said, lots of people are recording at home now. I'll just like, hey, you send me your stuff, I'll mix and master it for you. It's one of those things. But with a lot of that, which is kind of interesting, is building like trust when you like basically cold call clients, and just say like, hey, you don't know me, but I'll mix your stuff for $300. It's like, if someone told me that, I'd tell them to piss off, So yeah. It's a strange like line that you got to toe of like, you got to pay me for it. But at the same time, like I'll do all these extra things for you, or like maybe I'll do this for free a little bit and give you a test mix that's 70% done. And if you like it, then I'll really do it, for real. And then you will give me the money for it, which then, you're sacrificing your time and it's a bit of a gamble. If they decide to hate it, then, there goes all that work. It's really, really, it's weird. But, at the same time, if you're confident and if you're good at what you do, then, you can feel confident saying like, yeah, I'll do these free things for you. And if you like it, we can continue. And then, full well, like, oh, they'll like it. I'm better than everyone else. It's fine. Which it's an interesting like attitude that you kind of have to take. Because, if you're a band and you've, spent months writing and recording this stuff and your heart and your soul is in the thing. And then a mixer guy hits you up and he says, hey, I will mix it for you. But he's like all timid. He's like, well, I mean, if you like it, we can use it. And like, I'll try these things. Like, nah, dude, that would scare him away. You got to be like, dude, this shit's going to slam. It's going to be better than anyone else you could go to. Just trust me. I'd be like, I want that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then also to deliver on that promise too.
Yeah. You got to back it up. You can't.
So something similar kind of happened to me with my band when we were recording. Is the person who recorded us was going to do the mixing and mastering. And I kind of set some expectations. I was like, I don't want it to sound like it's overproduced, but I wanted to sound good. And I wasn't really getting the content that I really wanted, right? I didn't feel like I was getting like the sound that I was looking for.
Right.
And then literally a guy sends me a message like you're saying, and he's like, hey, so I'm going through these classes in college on engineering, musical engineering. And it's like, I will mix your stuff for you. And then he drops like this insane low price. And I was like, well, what have I got to lose? I mean, I'm not losing a whole lot out of that. And it ended up sounding great. And I was like, wow, okay, cool. So then I hit him up again and I was like, hey, so I got some songs that are starting to come. And he's like, yeah, you're going to be paying a lot more now.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, okay, well, can't you give me some kind of deal? Because I was one of the very first people. Like, I got you into this.
Right. Yeah, no, that's what you got to do, man. Like, especially when you're, working with somebody you've never even met before. You gotta throw them a bone. You gotta do something to get them to come in. And then once they see the thing that you can do, then they're hooked. And then you can start to like, okay, well, this is what I actually charged to do. But, you'll get the same thing as before, all that stuff. And that's what I did with, when I toured with, Sleep Signals, actually. I filled in on bass, for a couple tours with those guys. And just every band that we met on that tour, I was like, hey, I had, my business card in my hand. I was like, hey, so I record and mix bands and stuff, hit me up if you want. And a couple of them did. And I was like, I'll do the first mix for you for free, and gave it to them. And they came back a couple months later and they say, hey, we got an album for you. And, there's a couple grand in the bank right there. So it works. You just got to kind of put in the time up front and build that trust with everybody. And then you kind of foster these long lasting relationships.
That's quite the hustle right there too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, got to be on top of it. But also, that's one thing we talk about a lot is the networking portion of it. It's a little bit more than just being good at what you do. You have to have like a wide network of people that know that you're good at what you do, and you have to build that constantly. Build that. So, and
that's it.
It sounds like that's part of your hustle. So that's awesome.
Yeah, man, just go out and make friends. No, I like a lot of the time you can just approach people with not even thinking about like your business. You just like approach people because you just want to make friends. And then you make friends, and after, 3 hours of bullshit, and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, I have this, like, you can kind of throw it in passing. I've got this studio, like, here, check it out if you want. And that's it, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that guy was pretty cool. We should see what he does. And then they, and then it kind of works because now they know who you are and they trust you as a person. So they're more inclined to want to work with you because you're not some shithead or something like that.
A lot of people don't understand the value of a first impression.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that is a really big deal. It does matter a lot, especially in this music industry. You go meet somebody and you think they're a total douchebag, you're not going to want to work with them. But if you meet somebody and they're really, really cool and, you've got a lot of rapport there, you're obviously going to be like, you know what? That's always in the back of your head. It's like, oh, I remember that guy said he could do that. But you're only going to ever remember the other guy as a douchebag. So
yeah,
pretty much.
And that's what happened to me recently. I went to a show. One of my buddies was in one of the bands that was touring, and one of the opening bands was somebody who had like a decent amount of momentum, decent amount of clout, and I was like, it's gonna be really cool to see this band. I haven't seen them before, but I've heard a lot about them, and they're all DIY, no label, nothing like that. And so it'll be cool to see how they present themselves and the show that they put on, because it's completely them doing everything. Maybe they have a little bit of a team built around that, but it's not like the record label kind of team. And I was disappointed because, like you said, the lead singer was, he kind of just brushed me off, and, I was just a guy coming up to the merch table, buying a t-shirt and passing saying, hey, I want to talk to you, got a podcast. It would be cool to talk to you on the podcast about this and that, and just brush me off. And that was that. And, I don't understand, like, as a musician, how you can do that. Because if the entirety of your passion in creating music is just to be seen and to have people say that they like you and then not do anything beyond that, then it's just gonna, there's a certain level of connection that, the best musicians want, that they're trying to say something with their music. And if somebody's telling you that they really connect with it, then why brush them off? That kind of thing. I don't know. That was kind of a long-winded thing about some band that I just saw, but it is really disheartening when you come up to a band and get that kind of treatment,
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of people definitely can get they either get jaded with it. They're like, you get after, the 200th person coming up, oh my God, great job, whatever. You're like, what, shut up. I've heard all this before. You could potentially see it that way. Not that I definitely don't, but, I can see how you might fall into that mindset. But on the other hand, if you hit that, whatever that level is where you become like famous, then you kind of get a little bit of that superiority complex. And then when a musician lower than you comes up and says, hey, I've got this, I've got this podcast I want you to be on. And you're like, why would I waste my time? That's probably what went through his mind,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird. I definitely don't see how that could ever happen personally, but it happens to people, I suppose. But like, I actually experienced a lot of that firsthand when I was doing the Italy tour. Not to come back to like, oh, I went to Italy and stuff, but one thing that was really interesting. What I saw was like every show there was some like online magazine reporters and stuff there, and they were writing articles on the show because it was kind of a big event because Yngwie Malmsteen hadn't been to Europe in like 15 years, something like that. So it's been a long time. So there was some serious hype behind a lot of this, and so there were reporters and stuff out in force for that, and we read all these articles because we got a little blurb in the article as well because we were the opener, and every single one of them without fail, it was very interesting. Kind of what we did and what you do as the opener, at least here in the States, is you play your show, you do your thing, you pack your gear out, and then you just go hang out in the crowd. You hang out by the merch table at the exit door. You're just out there. This was apparently a weird thing for the European people. Every single one of these professional articles felt the need to mention how cool it was that we were just out in the crowd hanging out with people after the show. It was super weird. So even just the fact that we were there and, obviously we're, talking and laughing with everybody that came up and wanted to say something was like a huge deal that apparently they don't do over there, or maybe they didn't expect because we were with Malmsteen's crew and he's got he's known for not doing that, I don't know. It was really interesting, but definitely saw the other side of that, where just kind of without trying and just kind of being ourselves and being weird and stupid and approachable, everyone was thrown for a loop that like, we could just go talk to these guys, so it definitely works. We made a ton of fans just because we were out there, and they were able to come up to us and, they come up a little scared and, shake the hands, and then you just act dumber than them. And then they start to loosen up like, oh, these guys are actually kind of cool. Maybe you'll follow them on Spotify or something,
Yeah. Never underestimate the power of first impressions.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if they don't like your music, sometimes they'll just go and give you a like and listen to your stuff anyways, because they're like, you're a good person. I want to support you. Yeah.
See, and I can understand there's a certain mystique of the inaccessibility, of a certain musician. If you go and see a band and you're not like able to approach them, then it sets this whole bar above you and you kind of put that band on a pedestal. So I kind of understand that to a point. And, a lot of times when band gets to a certain level, that's almost necessary, because otherwise you would just be flooded with people. And that's just kind of how it happens. The broader your audience, the more that would become an issue. And then just to kind of have that mystique added into it. But whenever you do meet people, just be yourself, be a good person, and that definitely makes so much difference. Just when people realize, like, I just watched this person up on stage and they were, they put on a really good show and I had a really good time. And then they come down and they're a person just like me, just a person. It's, it's inspiring to people. And it changes their views about a lot of different things. And you kind of want to be that person.
Yeah, 100%. And you can even take it a step further too. And you can ask them about their, what do they like to do? And then, and then you can kind of coax them to start talking about themselves. And then you don't have to tell the same story you've told 100 times. How are you liking, this city, and, what's all this like? And, after the 20th time, oh, the city's, awesome. It's really cool. You just kind of like, tell someone talk about something different, and so that's kind of helpful too. It's kind of nice, but
and that's really cool. It's like you're genuinely excited to hear about their experiences, and they're genuinely excited to tell them because of the way that whole dynamic works. And I think there needs to be more of that. And that really brings the audience, the fans closer to the musicians in a way that makes the whole thing worth it. for both parties. I mean, that's great.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. So at this point, I think we want to talk a little bit about, let's see, what's your craziest tour experience?
Oh God. That's a good one, isn't it? I don't want to keep coming back to the tour I just went on, but like that shit was crazy. Just because of how eccentric Malmsteen is and the crazy stipulations that were put on us. Like it's so hard to describe in words, and I need to do it in a way that doesn't slander him, but it's going to seem a little slanderous when I say these things. Just take that with a grain of salt. So like I said, when you tour with Malmsteen, you can't touch his gear, you can't be in his way. Don't, when he's sound checking, you got to get out the building. Well, he ended up taking it a step further about halfway through the tour. And like, just as an aside, we kind of thought we had a little conspiracy going, put the little tin hat on and said, we thought that every show he was trying to make it a little bit harder for us as the opener band to, yeah, it kind of seemed like that was a thing he was doing as we went along. The reason I say that is because about halfway through, he decided he didn't even like seeing our gear staged while he was sound checking. So he just straight up banned us from even coming into the venue until it was time for us to load up and sound check. Which again, like I was saying before, kind of means, if he sound checks for 4.5 hours and doors are open and there's 1,000 people in the venue, somehow you've got to load your shit in, get it out the cases, set up, put up, mic'd up, run the monitors, run a sound check in like 40 minutes. It's just not going to happen. So we were in Padua, Italy, and it was at this giant venue. It was just floor. There was nothing there. There were like no doors except for the front door coming into the venue, and then you'd have to run through the whole building to get up to the stage. And then there was a small door behind the stage, but the green rooms were back there. We're not allowed in the green rooms. We can't use that door because it's got to go through the green rooms. No. So we were going to have to load our stuff in through the front door. And at this point, there's, lines of hundreds of people going like around the block, and it's freaking nuts. And so what we decided to do, here's the story. I finally got there. What we did was, if you snuck in the door on the very right, because there's like 4 or 5 doors that all open. If you snuck in the door on the right, you could literally like sidle along the wall, and you could not see Yngwie from the stage while he's sound checking. So what we did is we snuck our gear through this door, like little piece at a time, like sneaking along the wall, and we stashed it in this little corner where he couldn't see us. And we were like all sneaking around, because if he hears you, he's gonna. It's straight up like shit out of like Metal Gear Solid or something. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm thinking.
And okay, I'm not shitting you. This is not a joke. We got all our stuff in there, and we kind of had half of it out of the cases, and they're like big boat size cases. They're like human size. They're pretty big. And we're like kind of doing our thing and being silent, and we hear the bass player, his name was Emilio, and he's talking to the sound guy, and he goes, Maestro wants to come out and take a look at the stage from the back. And Maestro is what they call Malmsteen. That's like that's what they call him. And so we're like, what did he say? Is he coming back here? Like he wanted to like walk out there and turn and see how the stage is. So we like, and no shit, we all jumped into the cases and we like hid. No, I'm not shitting you. This is what we did. We all like hid, or like we were crouched down in the corner. Like one of us was like behind one of the trees, like, doing that kind of shit. And then we just waited,
As bands do.
Yeah. And he came out and he like did his thing, and you could like kind of peek through the cracks and kind of see him, and, like, okay, is he done? And then he went back on his stage, and we all popped out and continued doing our thing. That was weird and super nerve wracking. Cause like, can you just like imagine like this guy, he just like walks back and he like just decides to peek in, and then there's me just like, what would happen? You know what I mean?
It'd be like, what are you transporting in there?
Right. I don't.
People.
Jesus. Yeah, people. I'm the amplifier. Go away.
This is not the gear you're looking for.
Dude, straight up. So that was, yeah,
crazy.
I'd say that was the most crazy thing that I've ever done.
Wow, that is, that sets a whole new bar. Hiding in road cases. Ingve. That's crazy. Oh,
Yeah, dude.
Man, that's a good story. So you've done quite a bit of touring in the past. It's my understanding. But were there any points of time where you had the band and everything, and your side hustle might have been something different or did you get into mechanical engineering before band?
So yeah, it was kind of an interesting progression for me. And actually, Grant, the guy you've had on a little while ago, had quite a bit to do with it. Interestingly enough, so kind of right when I got into the music thing, like when I knew, like, okay, this is the thing I'm going to do. I was 21 and I was just getting ready to graduate with my bachelor's, and before that, I was in the same band, but we were just kind of, we were small children, didn't have any money. We still lived, with the parents thing. You just do the weekend gig every now and again, and it's cool. That was all it was. And it just so happened that one of these gigs that we did, we were opening for this band called Within Sight. And Within Sight was the band that Grant had many years ago now. Jesus. Yeah, many years ago now. And we ended up opening for them, and they were from Vancouver, Washington, so about 3 hours south of me. And it just weirdly, through social media connections, I saw that they were looking for a guitar player. They needed like a lead guitar player. And so I just was like, yeah, I'll reach out. Maybe I'll get the gig or something. It'd be cool. So I hit Grant up and was like, hey, if you need somebody, I'm your man. And basically he hit me back up in like April, and I was due to graduate. And he hit me up in like January, February, something like that. And I was due to graduate in May. And he's like, hey, we've got this tour booked. Do you want to go? And me, like, never been on tour before. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And he said, okay, we're going in April. I was like, oh, I can't go in April. I have to give my senior design project presentation. The culminating thing you've been working all year on. I can't miss that. And so he goes, oh, all right, well, when can you go? And I said, May. And he goes, all right. And he rebooked the entire tour for May just to accommodate me. So I basically graduated and went on tour with the metal band. And that was when I was like, oh, this is sick. I'm doing this now. And so basically ever since I had started my, corporate gig, I've just been secretly looking for a way out of it. You know what I mean? Because
right.
So yeah, I didn't really have a side hustle before the day job, except for a couple other small things here and there, but because I wasn't really trying to pursue the music thing until I had the job. And at that point, the money wasn't really an object. At that point, it was just, how can I get the free time to do what I'm trying to do? So yeah, the situation's been the same for about 5 years. I've been at my job for about 5 years, and it's only been relatively recently that it's been like, oh, okay, I need to tour with this band and this band and this band, and really trying to like, okay, I really need to get out of here or figure something out, because all these opportunities are going to start passing me by if I have to start saying no. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's been my journey so far.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times that is kind of the inverse of what most people experience when they're wanting to get into music. Is they start with the music and then try and get different jobs to try and supplement that. But there have been quite a few people like yourself who have that good paying job and want to do music. And so you're kind of trying to transition. So I think that's something that a lot of people can kind of relate to on some level. People who get to a point where they're working a job and they kind of realize that music is what they want to do instead. So.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting, like I've always been just a big, giant, awkward nerd, right? And so all through school, I had surrounded myself with other big, giant, awkward nerds, which basically meant, they were obviously not musicians, and they were like, I'm going to be a lawyer and go to Harvard, or I'm going to, be an astrophysicist, or, the crazy, guys that want to go get their PhDs and then their postdoctorates and all that madness stuff. So the whole, I guess I could say that the whole concept of the taking the vow of poverty to do music thing was never an idea that I had been exposed to until I toured with that metal band full of dudes that had taken the vow of poverty, and they were just like working construction gigs or whatever and just barely making ends meet, but they were doing the tour thing. So it was really like, once I had committed to this particular life path, that it was like, oh, you could have done all of these other things. But at that point, I'm committed. I've already been in school for, 5 years for this, not about to throw that away. So, let's figure something out.
Yeah, I think that's a very intelligent way to do that, because you don't want to waste all of that time and effort you put into something that, created a good career for you. So,
and school's expensive.
Yes, it is.
I got lucky. I got super lucky. I got a full ride.
Wow.
Oh,
so
awesome.
Yeah, I didn't graduate with any student loans. The first 2 years I did community college. So I was, it was beans compared to, the last 2 years of university, but there was this really strange, eclectic, scholarship that was open to anybody, but nobody knew about. So I applied, and I think I was the only one. And so I won, and it was basically full ride for the last 2 years.
There's actually a few of those that I found.
It was really weird. Yeah. It almost felt undeserved, but I was like, I'll take it.
Take that, non-nerds.
Pretty much. Yeah. To imagine playing sports.
I know, right? Duh. So I'm curious, what was one of your best experiences you've ever had while on tour?
Honestly, I think I would have to say it would be the tour that opened me up as a person. Because like I said before, big, giant, awkward nerd, very timid. The world scared me. And then I went on tour with this big metal band. And at the time, I had never touched alcohol, never done the weed, never done anything. I was vanilla child, right? And then I went on tour with Within Sight, that first tour right after I graduated. And I will never forget this moment lives in my brain forever. And I tell this story every chance that I can. But Grant, big, giant redhead guy, we're in the parking lot of a Walmart in Yakima, Washington, which is dead center of the state.
As bands
and
do.
Grant walks into, and this is before he was sober. And he comes out with a 30 rack of Coors Light or something, just the worst beer you could possibly get. And he goes into the band trailer and he starts loading up the cooler with it. And it's August or something, or it's hot. It's hot as shit outside. And so he comes out with 10 of these beers in his arms. And he's like, all right, boys, there's not enough room in the trailer. Everyone's got to slam 2 of these right now. And he hands me 2 beers, and I've never held a beer can in my life. Everyone around me, they're doing their Oktoberfest poses and slamming it. And it's okay. And I did the thing and I tasted it. It was disgusting, but I gotta hang with these guys. They gotta be cool,
right.
And so I ended up I did it. I did the thing.
Peer pressure's real.
I didn't really feel peer pressure. It was just more I've got to do this. I've got to be one of the boys, Yeah. And they found out a couple days later that had been my first alcohol ever, and they felt so bad for the rest of the tour, And
no, I can imagine. them feeling a little guilty about that after the fact.
I was fine with it. It was funny, and from there, that kind of had me taste my first whiskey, and kind of just be cool, and and kind of ease me into it. They, after that, they weren't just like, just slam this whole 5th of Jack Daniels and see what happens, bro. That probably would have been a terrible experience. So I was
a 5th of vodka.
Lucky.
Dare me to drive?
Yeah, no joke. So I was definitely lucky that even though the guys were they like to party, and all metal musicians, they would be crazy when when the situation called for it. But when it came to me, they were super chill, and so that was, I'd say probably like one of the highlights was just like not feeling like I was going to die when, if the situation were different, the people's personality were very different, I could have very well just like gotten a taste of it and like, wow, this sucks. And then had just called it, but I think because that experience was so, number one, it was so, good and nice and not scary. But the other thing, it did open me up quite a bit to like, this is what life is. You don't have to just study books, you nerd. It was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Maybe I could, do this more often.
You came back from tour and you were an alcoholic and worship the devil. Who is this 100%. Anthony? We have no idea where he went. He went on tour and now it's a shell of a man.
Yeah, every mother's worst nightmare.
Every mother's worst nightmare.
All right. Well, I feel like it is time for Andrew to ask you our very, very final question. It's very important.
It's a very, very important question, and it requires a lot of thought. And it's very, very important for all band people to know: do you prefer waffles or pancakes?
I was ready. I was like, this is going to be not a deep question. I was ready for it. I've learned. Oh God. I mean,
it's not that hard of a question. Come on.
It is. We're getting philosophical here. All right. Give me a minute.
Okay. Here we go.
No, I think I got to lean towards the pancakes because if you ever have put sausage wrapped in pancake, pigs in a blanket, do it. Best is best. Can't go wrong. That sounds
pretty good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, put a stick to it and make a corn dog with the.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right?
Pancake.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but let me ask you this: have you ever taken a waffle and made a taco and put a chicken strip in there with a little bit of butter and maple syrup and some hot sauce? Chicken waffle taco?
Not, and I'm disappointed. No, I haven't done that.
All right, so the jury's out on the pancake question.
He's biased. Doesn't count.
Yeah.
The overwhelming response normally is for waffles, and that's what
okay.
But, pancakes are great. So
being the odd man out,
right?
That's fine.
You're choosing between two great things. So if you choose pancakes, you're wrong, but you're fine.
It's one of those questions. It's like, does pineapple belong on pizza? And everyone thinks no. But I'd say yes.
Okay, we're not going to go there. That's too controversial.
Yeah, I'm opening a can of worms here.
we also don't have time for it. I mean, that's just a whole other. Yeah.
We would leave the podcast not being friends anymore.
No. Pineapple, no pineapple.
We're just talking about breakfast here. Let's get started at breakfast. First meal of the day. That's what we like. We like keeping it easy, as bands do. All right. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for being on, and we really appreciate listening to your insight and everything. Like I said, we're going to drop links to all of your different projects that you've got going on. So once again, we appreciate you being on. And thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you like and rate and review and, do all the stuff that promotes the podcast and gets it into the algorithm so that we get a lot more views so that Anthony's wisdom can be spread to more people. So with that being said, except for the pancake stuff, we'll cut that out. With that being said, I'm Cody.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Anthony.
Anthony. We will see you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Hustling.